like to talk about our environment first. And we are products of our environment. It shapes who we are. It may determine what type of football team we support. I'm from a family of 3 uncles and 8 cousins, and they all support Chelsea Football Club. So you can imagine what football team I support. And it may also determine which religion we adopt, as you might be able to see in this world map of religions. It's no accident that we come together over joint values. It gives us a sense of place and a sense of belonging, which is a core ingredient of happiness. We're extremely receptive to the world around us, and there are lots of different types of contexts that we're receptive to. And I can just talk about 2 really. The physical context, such as the weather, and this is owed to seasonal affective disorder, which affects us during the winter months, or winter blues as it's called. And also the sort of the social context, such as well-known peer pressure. What about architecture? It's a sort of artificial catalyst that can help better these contexts, perhaps. It's an antidote to the depressing hums of the today, and it also potentially has the power to make us happy and act as a lens into new worlds. So I just want to talk about lens in sort of conventional terms, where our eyes, lenses obviously, but colourblind people see the world very differently. So it's a matter of perception here. And it's hard for them to distinguish between colours correctly. And so in this image as a test here, you may be able to see the number 74. But if you can't, it might mean that you're one of 100 men or one in 250 women that find it hard to distinguish colours. So it's quite apparent. And I just want to show you a small video here of these lenses that have been invented by a company called Enchroma that help a variety of colourblind people see through the eyes of the majority.
Look at your kids' eyes, Petey. They're so pretty.
Oh my God, it's so real.
It is real. It is real.
Now you can dress I can't look at the cow, man. This is spectacular. I can't even imagine how different the world looks. I swear to God, like it's so crazy.
Dang.
That's all you really need at the end, isn't it? So, to put this into perspective and related to architecture, our physical body can only really do so much in terms of life experience potential, you see in this graph. And we've invented technology and lenses, so to speak, to increase this life experience potential. But it depends what we're looking at. It depends about our context. And how can architecture create better context? How can it stimulate emotion? And it needs to go beyond the shape-making exercise, as this often lands us with a superficial gimmick, such as this fish building, which doesn't really offer much in terms of life experience potential. So I argue that it might just reside in observing the best of our natural environment, analysing it, and then reflecting found new knowledge into a form that can conduct emotions. So from physical architectural space to the mental space. But beyond this, beyond just reflecting natural environments, how can architecture be an emotive tool, just like the colourblind correction glasses by Enchroma? How can you see more? And my simple answer to this is to create buildings that tell stories. So architecture can be metaphoric. And here, in a very simple method, we take familiar reference points and then use these to unlock otherworldly experiences or even emotions. And I use this method while going through a tough time. And this is my dad who died during my master's. And I just wanted to remember the happy-go-quirky times. And there he is. He can never really stop him building those boats. And I just wanted to put a happy lens on, so to speak. So I did a project, an architectural project on happiness. And I wanted to look and see, how can I find this metaphor? And ideas come from the most peculiar places. So, Winnie the Pooh. Yeah. And here's another father-son story where A.A. Milne, the author of Winnie the Pooh, wrote stories about his son, Christopher Milne, who's in fact the real Christopher Robin as portrayed in the book. So there they are. And that's Winnie the Pooh. But sources suggest that Christopher Milne believed his father wrote the books to exploit his childhood, and he long since lived in the shadow of his father. So in the book, it could be seen that Pooh and Friends are Christopher Robin's fictional happiness. And each of them give him a sense of love and prosperity and adventure and even potentially a family. And in my eyes, it's a propaganda for happiness. So every architectural project needs a context, a site. And so here I chose 1920s Slough to overlay this level of happiness, because it was seen as a fantastic industry town, but it didn't really offer much in terms of happiness and well-being to the locals, the residents. So I overlaid an industry of happiness on top of this hard infrastructure to see what would happen. And here's a promotional poster for Pooh Town. And you can see that you're taken on a pilgrimage of happiness, and you visit each of Pooh's friends, which specialise in a specific type of happiness, as portrayed in the book. And this is the inner leaf of the Winnie the Pooh book, which shows the map of Ashdown Forest, where all of Pooh's friends reside and live, and each have houses. And so I placed this in a pilgrimage location, and this is overlaid onto Slough. And you visit each of Pooh's friends, day by day throughout the week, and experience a specific type of happiness. You get a dose of happiness. And throughout the week, you theoretically become a happy Christopher Robin as portrayed in the book. You just might be able to see his face there as you go around his brain. Just to take on a little bit of the pilgrimage, here is Piglet's Adventure, where there's some research suggested that the concept of anticipation and reward at the end of a journey is a fantastic ingredient for happiness. And here, the boat that you travel in, if you live in a treasure map, the boat is the bedroom to the treasure chest kitchenette that you dock into. And each day you're given a new map, so each day is a different adventure. And each map will determine which district or which Pooh's friends you'll visit next. Here is Owl's library, where Owl's the only literate friend in the book, so everyone loves him. And here you experience fulfillment through knowledge. We all crave purpose, and we can enrich our purpose by indulging in art and culture. There are also theories that suggest that this satisfies our anxiety when we have greater knowledge in things. We reach Kangaroo and Roo here, where in the story, Kangaroo is the mother to Roo the son, and it's not really clear where the father is in this dynamic. So this kind of reflects in the real world, where there are lots of different types of families of all different shapes and sizes, and this tries to encourage a level of inclusion here, which should happen in today's world. And then finally you reach the Emporium Jar, where you're invited to take a slice of this happiness home in a memento or souvenir. So why am I telling you this? It's not just a satirical, tongue-in-cheek project. It does follow tested master planning techniques, and it also borrows empirical research to try and quantify the happiness. And I did this by interviewing people from industry towns and children to try and get some measured evidence, some feedback from giving them images which had happy cues in them. And each image was trying to represent a specific type of happiness. And then they came back to me with some feedback which helped shape the scheme. And here, I want to try and talk about funding. Like, how can you actually try and fund such a whimsical proposal? But it may seem actually that industries of the make-believe are actually very lucrative. And here's Walt Disney. Disneyland is a living, breathing city, I argue. It's a money-making machine, but it's a complete society. But it may not be to everyone's taste. This rosy-cheeked architecture may be seen as an overworked cliche, but this Disney society does deliver emotions via stories. And these are places that are not just imagined, but they're lived in. Festivals. These are temporary cities that also offer themselves as a rare treat, as a sort of, at the end of the year, you might go to a festival, so the belonging anticipation. But they're societies created from art, culture, and life-giving speculation. And they create experiences that are larger than life. And because they're larger than life, they can help you experience your inner child. And there I am, the gorgeous one on the left. And this helps you escape the confines of the mundane using emotional cues. So to reflect this concept of cues, emotional cues or happy cues or whatever in society, a study from Harvard University has found that placing child-based cues in the workplace can help encourage pro-social behavior and make people cheat less and work harder. And this is also reflected by the amount of nurseries that are visible in urban infrastructures. This encourages charitable behaviour from different types of organisations. And above all, this suggests to me that child-based infrastructure, no matter what it is, can help improve our lifestyle if put into the adult world. So what I've just presented to you can be seen as a sort of assembly of ideas, and then these need to be overlaid into an architectural framework. And the key thing here is if we are products of our context, if we enhance that context, do we not enhance ourselves too? But how do we implement this into society and implement this into an architectural framework, as I said? It may have to be drip-fed into society, just like acclimatizing a fish to a new tank temperature. Putting Pooh Town or Disneyland on your doorstep, it might not be as welcomed as you would like to hope. I work in a London practice called Haptic Architects, and we've been working on a scheme called the London Cancer Hub in Sutton. And we try to celebrate life by encouraging delivery of healthy architecture, by offering well-being to patients and people at the worst of times. And this is the current site, which has been developed in a piecemeal fashion. You can see the black is the structures there, which have just been sprawled across. And it doesn't really offer much in terms of well-being. So we were invited to do a development framework, as they called it, from all the different clients on site. This is the ICR, Institute of Cancer Research, Royal Marsden, Sutton Council, and Epsom St Helier Hospital. And we all came together to try and radically improve the conditions over 25 years by asking more of the architecture. And this is kind of how we did it. So we created this sense of ownership by taking the cars underground, giving the floor to the people, giving pedestrians priority, and not just limiting the amount of pedestrians or the types of them. So clinicians, academics, the public, definitely, and the patients were invited to come together and create a unified community. This is part of a public engagement poster series that I did for the team, and a BBC documentary on how to be happy, which was actually based in Slough subsequently. It suggested that people are most happy or stimulated when they're in a state of flow, when they're involved in a repetitive amenity. So here we offer loads of amenities on site, which are very open to all different types of people. Here we put a patient hotel right next to the ward to try and encourage home comforts. We also try and suggest that bringing nature in. So we talked about nature today and how it can have an amazing effect on people. And in World War I, it was tested that people were taken out of hospitals in their beds to encourage aid speedy recovery by nature. So here there's nature sprawling all the way across the site. And infrastructure is veiled underground. So having these sort of hidden systems. And this is a practice shown by Walt Disney in Disneyland to ensure pristine environments above. So not to tarnish the environment. Ultimately, we wanted to try and engage people with the science, so put science on show. And here you can see the yellow pavilions, which are actually laboratories. And these put science right on your doorstep. And it's the sort of evidence of progress that you can see behind these life-saving cures. It is world-class from the ICR. It's absolutely phenomenal what they do there. Most of the drugs that that people can use to get better have been produced on the site. And it's the level of support that you can give there. So it's the factor of it will be okay. So to summarize, I've used a sort of assembly of ideas in my own personal take and to try and create well-being catalysts on the site. We're born into rules and traditions of the today. So with designing with a focus for the mind, the mental space rather than the physical, architectural buildings can offer emotional gifts to help make our lives more experiential. And beyond a building, architecture has the potential to replenish society with pro-social behaviour and a common virtue that we all long for. So thank you very much.